Hello class. So today we're going to discuss non-point and the point source pollutions of drugs and pathogens in this particular area. And we're currently in the East Cobb Park, so we're in East Cobb. And some examples of point source pollution would be like the sewage systems and or factories that just dump away their medications in rivers and like fresh waters. So since we're in East Cobb, we have the Cobb County sewage system, and that some people like to just dump their medications into the toilet, which goes into the sewage system, which then proceeds to pollute these areas right here. So another example of point source pollution would be the BP oil spill. Let's pretend this is the ocean. So whatever that's like flowing down right now, that would be the oil that BP spilled like a couple of years ago. Another example of point source would be the Ganges River, which is in India, because in India they don't really have environmental regulations, so all the waste from the sewage systems just flows into the Ganges River along with other waste. So what happens is the waste accumulates since the Ganges River, like the water accumulates at the end of the river, so all the waste just piles up in the end of the river, which then helps production, which then travels upstream and pollutes the water that hasn't been polluted, making it undrinkable, and people who are unaware of the pollution may drink the water and then become affected with certain types of diseases, such as E. coli and other types of bacteria.
Some major types of pollution are those. Listen: coliform, salmonella, and E. coli. Bacteria all over our fresh water. People die, fish will die, you die too. Where did all these pollution came from? Med factory, agriculture, runoff. Oh, and fecal contaminant. Coach Duncan and the books taught us the problems we're facing. Pathogens everywhere. Man, how are we going to save our lives? The fishes, the forests, the snakes, yeah, you. And you. We left the classroom, now we're telling you. We got no time. It is now or never. This is crisis. No more drugs, pathogens in the water.
So the increase of eutrophication increases algae blooms, which also leads to animals not being able to obtain oxygen. Animals not being able to contain oxygen leads to them dying, which they can't decompose because there's no oxygen. Lower dissolved oxygen kills animals, which leads to more dead bodies, which also leads to more bacteria, and that causes more pollution.
More animals will die.
More animals dying, yeah.
Okay, so pollution affects the ecosystem by decreasing biodiversity and killing animals. Can also result in genetic mutations. So an example of that would be birth control pills can actually change the sex of fish and change the sex of frog. Drugs in the ecosystem can also have a chain effect. For example, vultures in India have been their population has been completely wiped out because they were feeding on cattle that had drugs in their systems. It takes away their ability to reproduce and lowers the population even more. And of drugs in the ecosystem have also caused a rise of microorganisms and viruses that are completely resistant to antibiotics, which has lowered the human population around the world.
Check the pollutions inside the water by comparing it to past years and years. So some of the scientists, they did studies on by taking fish and dissecting them, they found depression pills inside of them, pills that lower blood pressure.
This is how we can help. Decrease runoff, regulation needed, less fertilizers. Your plants don't need that. Extra fertilizers like haters. No, not needed, and unhealthy. Stop wasting the tax money and put them into better use. Filter machines or anything. Move y'all's butts. and put some effort. Because water pollution, no. Peace.
Acts that combat this problem, are the Safe Drinking Water Act and the Clean Water Act. Clean Water Act is setting standards for industries, and the Safe Drinking Water Act sets standards for drinking water and protects public water safety. Illinois has passed Safe Pharmaceutical Disposal Acts, which in hospitals they can't just flush down the drugs in the toilet. California did a similar legislation. We draw the line. Pathogen pollution ends here.